The void doesn't lie. That's what they taught us at the academy. Space reveals truth in ways words never can. But as I stare at the sensor readings before me, I knew the void was showing me something impossible. My name is Commander Vexra, Tholin. 43 cycles of service in the Draknari Imperial Fleet. 3 campaigns. 17 successful reconnaissance missions. Not once had I questioned what my instruments told me. Until now. The Crimson Shadow drifted silent through the darkness, her stealth plating absorbing every scanning pulse, every stray photon. We were ghosts in the disputed zone, the lawless stretch of space where Draknari territory bled into the unknown regions. This sector was supposed to be empty, patrols only, small outposts, nothing more. The stars here looked wrong. Cold, distant, like they were watching us with malevolent eyes. Lieutenant Zan. My voice cut through the bridge's silence. Confirm those readings. Zan's claws clicked rapidly across his console. His crimson scales had gone pale, a sign of fear in our species. When he looked up, his vertical pupils were dilated wide. Commander, I'm reading gravitational distortions near Epsilon 79. Massive ones. Multiple sources. Something's out there. Something enormous. I moved to a station, each step measured, deliberate. The bridge crew worked in practiced silence around me. They were veterans. They knew when to speak and when to listen. The holographic display showed waves of spatial distortion rippling through the fabric of reality. Whatever caused them was bending space-time itself. Ship count, I demanded. Zan's hands trembled over the controls. Numbers cascaded across his screen. His breathing quickened, then stopped. Sir, I'm detecting 200, maybe 250 vessels. Power signatures they're off the scale. This can't be right. 200 ships. In this sector, that was impossible. The entire Draknari Border Patrol consisted of maybe 30 vessels spread across a dozen systems. Who could field a fleet this size out here? Identify them. My tactical officer, Syra Kane, worked her station with fierce precision. Her silver implants glowed as she interfaced directly with the ship's targeting systems. She was the best analyst I'd ever served with. Cold, calculating, ruthless. When she turned to face me, something in her expression made my blood run cold. They're human, Commander. The bridge fell dead silent. Human. Everyone in the Draknari military knew about humans. The primitives. The newcomers who'd barely crawled out of their home system 2 centuries ago. High Command had files on them, assessments, projections, strategic analyses. The consensus was universal. Humans were not a threat. Their fusion drives were crude, barely pushing their vessels to half-light speed. Their weapons were kinetic, railguns and missiles, technology the Draknari had abandoned millennia ago. Their FTL systems were inefficient disasters that took weeks to cross distances we covered in days. But 200 ships changed the equation. 200 ships changed everything. Close approach vector. I ordered full stealth protocol. I want to know what they're doing here. The Crimson Shadow was built for exactly this kind of work. Small, fast, invisible. Our hull absorbed sensor waves instead of reflecting them. Our engines ran cold enough to pass for background radiation. We could slip through enemy territory like smoke through fingers. The crew activated stealth systems with practice efficiency. Bridge lighting dimmed to emergency red. The constant hum of our engines dropped to barely a whisper. Even the air recyclers went silent. We drifted toward the human fleet, like predators stalking prey. As we closed distance, the sensor readings grew clearer, more detailed, more terrifying. Syra's sharp intake of breath drew my attention. Commander, these readings don't make sense. The human vessels are massive. The largest ones they're 3 times the size of our dreadnoughts. Power signatures this shouldn't be possible. Quantum cores, singularity reactors, weapon systems generating more power than our entire battle group. I stare at the data flowing across her console. Every instinct screamed that this was wrong. All of it. Our intelligence said humans were decades behind us, perhaps a full century. These ships were more advanced than anything we possessed. Run full diagnostics. I said, Keeping my voice level. Verify sensor accuracy. Check for malfunctions. Then ran the diagnostics. Syra cross-referenced the data through 3 independent systems. Our science officer, Turdan, analyzed the readings from every possible angle. All systems returned the same result. Accurate. How? Syra whispered. Our intelligence said they were primitives. These ships they're beyond us, beyond anything we have. I watched the human fleet move through space with mechanical precision, perfect formation, every vessel positioned with mathematical exactness. They moved like a single organism, coordinated, purposeful, deadly. Analyze their formation pattern. I ordered. Syra highlighted the fleet arrangement on the main display. Her voice carried a note of professional respect mixed with dread. This is advanced military doctrine, sir. Look at their positioning. Heavy capital ships forming the core, screening elements on the flanks, support vessels integrated for overlapping defensive coverage. This is the tactical thinking of a civilization with thousands of years of warfare experience. She was right. If anyone attacked this fleet, they'd face interlocking fields of fire from multiple vectors. It wouldn't be a battle. It would be an execution. Navigation, plot their heading. A crimson line appeared on the star chart, cutting through space toward the inner systems. They're headed for the nebula of Echoes, my navigator reported. That's deep inside Draknari territory. Invasion. The word hung unspoken between us. The humans were invading. They'd built this armada in secret, and now they were coming for us. But something didn't add up. If they wanted to invade, why move so openly? Why use a fleet this large? A smaller strike force could have penetrated our borders undetected. This armada was impossible to hide. Every sensor station within 50 light years would detect them, unless they wanted to be detected. I pushed the thought away. Prepare encrypted transmission to Central Command. Priority Alpha. Military threat assessment. Include all sensor data. Our communications officer, Nissa, compiled the data packet with practice speed. Every measurement of the human ships. Their formation. Their course. Their capabilities. Everything High Command needed to understand what we faced. Transmission ready, Commander. Send it. The message burst through quantum encrypted channels towards Central Command, 40 light years distant. They needed to know. The entire Imperium needed to know. The Draknari had ruled this region for 5,000 years. We'd conquered the VRYNN. We'd absorbed the Kelthari. We'd pushed back the swarm consciousness. We were the apex predators of this galactic arm. But now there was competition, and that competition had fangs. Sir, Syra said carefully, what are your orders? I looked at the human fleet on the main display. 200 vessels, each one more powerful than anything in our arsenal. We follow them, maintain maximum stealth, gather intelligence, and we don't let them know we exist. The crew nodded. They understood the mission. The crimson shadow fell into position behind the human armada, far enough to remain undetected, close enough to monitor their every movement. Ours bled into each other. The human fleet maintained perfect course and speed. No deviations. No hesitation. They moved with the confidence of those who knew exactly where they were going. I stood on the bridge, calculating scenarios. What would Central Command do when they received my message? They'd have to respond. A fleet this size was an existential threat. They'd assemble our own battle group, maybe 120 warships. They'd intercept the humans before they could penetrate deeper. There would be battle, perhaps the largest battle in centuries. Could we win? I looked at the sensor readings again, the power signatures, the advanced technology, the perfect tactical formation. I wasn't certain. Commander, Tilden called out, I've been analyzing their engine signatures. The humans are using some kind of contained singularity drive. I've never encountered anything like it. The efficiency it's orders of magnitude beyond our best systems. Meaning they can travel faster, farther, and use exponentially less fuel than we can. Sir, if these readings are accurate, a human vessel could cross a galaxy in the time it takes us to traverse a single sector. The implications hit like a physical blow. The humans didn't just have better weapons. They had better engines, better computers, better everything. Where had this technology come from? How had they advanced so quickly? Continue monitoring. I ordered. I want detailed analysis of every system, everything. The crew worked in disciplined silence, building a comprehensive picture of the human fleet one data point at a time. My second in command, a young officer named Kelris, approached quietly. She spoke so only I could hear. "Sir, what if they know we're here?" I turned to face her. She was inexperienced, only 7 cycles of service, but sharp, too sharp sometimes. Our stealth technology has never failed. The humans have primitive sensors. They cannot detect us. But, sir, what if their sensors aren't primitive anymore? What if everything in our intelligence files is wrong? It was a terrifying question, one I'd been avoiding. I looked at the human fleet again. They moved through space like they owned it. Confident, powerful, unstoppable. Then we're in far more trouble than we thought. I said quietly. The hours turned into days. 3 full standard days. The Crimson Shadow followed the human armada like a shadow, collecting massive volumes of data. The more we learned, the more disturbed we became. The humans had AI coordination systems, forbidden by galactic convention. The Treaty of Cryones had banned artificial intelligence warfare systems after machine wars nearly destroyed the galaxy 3 millennia ago. But the humans either didn't know about the treaty or didn't care. Their weapons were equally disturbing. Plasma cannons that could vaporize Draknari armor. Missile systems with quantum guidance, making them literally impossible to intercept. Beam weapons operating on principles our science team couldn't comprehend. On the 3rd day, we received a response from Central Command. "Sir, incoming transmission," Nissa reported. "Highest encryption level." I read the message on my private console. My expression darkened with each line. Central Command was taking the threat seriously. They were assembling a battle fleet, 120 warships, the largest military response in a generation. They would intercept the humans at the Nebula of Echoes in 6 days. The message included new orders: maintain surveillance at all costs. Do not engage. Do not reveal position. The success of the entire operation depended on the humans not knowing we were tracking them. I set down the console, feeling responsibility settle on my shoulders like lead weights. 120 Draknari warships against 200 human vessels. Would it be enough? I looked at my crew. 3 days of constant monitoring had worn them down, but they remained professional. They would do their duty. Maintain pursuit. I ordered. Stay sharp. We're all that stands between the humans and a surprise attack on our battle fleet. The crew acknowledged and returned to their stations. The Crimson Shadow continued its silent pursuit through the endless dark. The human fleet moved ahead, seemingly unaware they were being watched. At least, that's what I hoped, because deep in my mind, a voice kept whispering Kelris's question. What if they know we're here? What if they've known all along? The human fleet moved like a living entity, breathing, thinking, reacting. For days of following them now. For days of watching these massive vessels glide through the void with terrifying grace. The data we collected was overwhelming. Our science team had filled 4 complete databases: power readings, weapon signatures, communication patterns, everything we could detect without revealing ourselves. But the more I studied them, the more uneasy I became. "Sir," my navigator reported, "the human fleet is adjusting course. They're angling directly toward the Nebula of Echoes, exactly where Central Command predicted intercept." That should have been reassuring. It meant our battle fleet would be positioned perfectly, but something about it troubled me. The humans were going exactly where we wanted them to go. Too exactly. Maintain position. I ordered. Keep maximum stealth range. The Crimson Shadow adjusted course, staying in the blind spot behind their formation. We'd learned the humans had excellent forward and lateral sensor coverage, but their rear detection was marginally weaker. Marginally. We exploited that tiny gap. Kelris approached my command station. She'd been running analysis for 6 hours straight. Her eyes showed exhaustion, but her mind remained sharp. "Commander, I need to show you something." I followed her to the tactical station. She pulled up a holographic display showing the human fleet's movement over 4 days. "Look at their course corrections," she said, highlighting specific points. "Every 12 hours, they make micro-adjustments. See? Here, here, and here." I studied the pattern. The corrections were minuscule, almost imperceptible. "What am I looking at?" "Sir, I plotted these corrections through our navigation computer. When you calculate what they're compensating for..." She pressed a control. Red lines appeared, showing gravitational influences and spatial currents. They're correcting for phenomena they shouldn't be able to detect. This dark matter stream here, we can only detect it with specialized equipment. The humans shouldn't even know it exists, but they're compensating for it perfectly. Ice ran through my veins. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying their sensors are far more sophisticated than we estimated, far more than they should be. Sir," she hesitated, "I think they might be able to detect us." "Impossible," I said, but my voice lacked conviction. "Is it? Look at their technology. Look at their ships. Everything about them is impossible. Why not their sensors too?" Before I could respond, Nissa called out, "Commander, urgent transmission from Central Command." I moved to the communication station and read the encrypted message. My expression hardened. The Draknari battle fleet was ahead of schedule. 120 warships had assembled at the rendezvous coordinates. They were moving into final position. In 6 days, they'd spring their trap. The message contained updated orders and a classified intelligence brief. I read the brief alone. The language was clinical, sterile. It discussed resource acquisition, population management, exploitation potential of human worlds. The meaning was crystal clear. The Imperium wasn't just preparing to defend against invasion. They were preparing to conquer Earth and all its colonies. I felt sick. "Sir," Kelris was looking at me with concern. "Are you all right?" "Fine," I lied. "Maintain surveillance. Alert me immediately if anything changes." The hours crawled forward. The human fleet continued its steady advance. On the 5th day, something shifted. "Sir, the human formation is changing," Syra reported. "They're spreading out." I watched as the tight military formation loosened. Ships moved into wider positions. The change was subtle but deliberate. Combat preparation? I wondered aloud. Or better sensor coverage. Kelris added quietly. I shot her a warning look. She fell silent. The formation continued expanding. The Crimson Shadow had to adjust position to maintain concealment. "Sir, power readings in the human vessels are increasing," Zan reported, his voice tight. "Reactor output climbing. Weapons charging." "They know the Draknari fleet is waiting," Cyrus said. "They're preparing for battle." But how did they know? Central Command had maintained absolute communication silence. The approach had used maximum stealth protocols. There was no way the humans should be aware of our trap. Unless... Check our communications. I ordered suddenly. "Every transmission we've sent to Central Command. Verify encryption integrity." Nissa looked confused but ran the diagnostic. "All transmissions use quantum encryption, sir. Unbreakable. No one could have intercepted them." "Check anyway." She ran deeper analysis. Her fingers moved across controls. Data streamed across her screen. When she looked up, her face had gone pale. "Sir, there's something here. A piggyback signal. Something incredibly faint. It's been attached to every transmission we sent." "What kind of signal?" "I don't know. It's not in any format I recognize. It's so subtle our systems registered it as background noise. But it's not noise. It's structured, deliberate." Cold realization washed over me. The humans have been listening. "That shouldn't be possible," Nissa protested. "Our encryption is..." "Advanced by our standards," Kelris interrupted. "But what if the humans are beyond our standards? What if they're so far ahead that our unbreakable encryption is child's play to them?" Silence fell across the bridge. Everyone understood what this meant. The humans knew about our battle fleet. They knew about the ambush. They'd probably known from the very beginning. "We need to warn Central Command," Cyrus said urgently. "We need to tell them the humans know." "How?" I demanded. "Any transmission we send will be compromised. They'll hear it. Then we break off. We run back to the fleet and warn them directly." I considered this. But before I could give the order, everything changed. Every light on the bridge went out. The darkness was absolute, complete, not even emergency lighting activated. The constant hum of our engines died. The whisper of air recyclers stopped. The bridge became silent as a tomb. "What's happening?" Someone shouted in the darkness. "Power failure," another voice called. "Everything's offline." I felt myself floating. The artificial gravity had failed. I reached out blindly, found the edge of my command chair, gripped it tight. "Emergency systems." I ordered. "Activate emergency systems." "Trying, sir." That was our engineer. "Nothing's responding. It's like everything just died." This was impossible. The Crimson Shadow had multiple redundant systems. Backup power. Isolated circuits. Emergency protocols. Even if the main reactor failed, we should have lights. Basic systems. But we had nothing. Just darkness and silence, and the sensation of floating in zero gravity. Life support status. "Can't check, sir. Console's dead. But we're still breathing, so something must be working." Small comfort. We were alive now. But without power, without systems, we were helpless. Dead in space. Was that a weapons hit? Syra asked. "Did they attack us?" "I detected no weapons fire," Zen said, then paused. "But my sensors are dead now, so I can't verify." My mind raced. This wasn't random failure. The timing was too perfect. Right after we discovered they'd been listening. Right after we learned our encryption was compromised. The humans did this. But how? How could they shut down every system on a Draknari scout vessel simultaneously? "Everyone stay calm," I said, forcing my voice to remain steady. "We're going to..." My command console flickered to life. The sudden light was blinding after the darkness. I squinted at the screen. Text appeared, but it wasn't standard format. And it definitely wasn't Draknari maintenance code. The text was in perfect Draknari script. Clear, precise, impossible. "Greetings, Commander Vexra. We should talk." The entire crew stared at the message. No one spoke. No one moved. We just floated in the darkness, staring at that glowing console. Then the main view screen activated. A human female appeared, middle-aged by their standards. She wore a dark blue uniform with gold insignia on the shoulders. Her hair was pulled back in a tight style. Her expression was calm, professional, almost friendly. She spoke. The words came through our bridge speakers in perfect Draknari, not translated. Perfect. "Good evening, Commander. My name is Admiral Kairavas. I command a human expeditionary fleet you've been following for 5 days. I apologize for the dramatic entrance, but we needed this conversation, and I needed your complete attention." I found my voice. "How are you doing this?" "Our systems are offline." "Not all of them," Admiral Voss replied. "Life support is running. Gravity will return momentarily. Your crew is safe. We've simply disabled your communications, propulsion, and weapons. Think of it as..." A temporary pause. As she spoke, I felt weight returning. The artificial gravity came back online. I settled into my command chair, but my grip on the armrest remained white-knuckled. "This is an act of war," I said. "Is it?" Voss tilted her head slightly. "Your ship has been conducting military surveillance in what you claim is your territory. You've been gathering intelligence for an attack on our fleet. By your own laws, Commander, that makes you a hostile combatant. We'd be within our rights to destroy you. Then why haven't you?" "Because we don't want to." Voss's expression grew more serious. "Commander Vexra, humanity has no desire for war with the Draknari Imperium. We've known you were following us since the moment you entered the system 5 days ago." Syra gasped. Kelris looked at me with an expression that clearly said, "I told you so." Admiral Voss continued, "Everything you've seen, every piece of data you've collected, was carefully curated. We let you see what we wanted you to see. We knew you'd report to Central Command. We knew they'd respond by assembling a battle fleet. We knew they'd plan an ambush at the Nebula of Echoes. You want us to gather a fleet? I couldn't understand why. So we could demonstrate something important. So we could show you exactly what would happen if that fleet engages us. Voss's expression turned grave. Commander, we've intercepted your classified communications. All of them. Plans for human space, population management, resource extraction, labor conscription. Lovely euphemisms for invasion and slavery. Ice filled my stomach. She knew. They knew everything. Your battle fleet has 120 warships. Voss continued. Impressive. The largest Draknari military response in a generation. But they're sailing into a trap. Our trap, not because we want to destroy them, but because we need to prove something. Prove what? That attacking humanity will be the last mistake the Draknari Imperium ever makes. The view screen changed, showing technical readouts and system diagrams, all in Draknari format. This is the complete system architecture of your scout vessel. Voss explained. Every circuit, every backup system, every isolated network. We didn't hack your ship, Commander. We simply turned it off. All of it, simultaneously, from a distance of 20,000 kilometers. She let that sink in. Now imagine we do that to your entire battle fleet. 120 warships. All systems offline. Weapons dead. Engines cold. Shields down. All at the same moment. What do you think happens then? I couldn't answer. I knew exactly what would happen. It would be slaughter. The Draknari fleet would be helpless. We won't do that. Voss said, we don't want to kill anyone, but we will if we must, which is why I need you to send a message to Central Command. Tell them to stand down. Tell them to abort the attack. Tell them that engaging humanity wouldn't be war. It would be suicide. The screen flickered. Voss's image was replaced by a simple timer. 1 hour, 60 minutes. Counting down. Her voice echoed through the bridge speakers one final time. You have 1 hour to compose your message. Commander, we've restored your communications for that purpose. Propulsion and weapons will remain offline. When the hour expires, we'll talk again. Choose wisely. The fate of your battle fleet depends on it. The transmission ended. Bridge lighting returned fully. The crew stared at each other in shocked silence. I looked at the timer. 59:58. 59:57. 59:56. The impossible choice had landed in my lap, and I had less than an hour to make it. The timer counted down like a death sentence. 53:42. Each second felt like hammer blows to my chest. My crew looked to me, waiting for answers, expecting leadership. But I had nothing. My thoughts moved through thick fog. Every decision felt wrong. Sir, Syra, my tactical officer. Her voice pulled me back. What do we do? What did we do? The humans had given us communications. We could send a message to Central Command. Warn the battle fleet. Tell them about the human capabilities. The system shut down. Everything. But should we? We need to analyze this, I said, forcing calm into my voice. We need to understand what happened. What happened is obvious, Syra said, her voice hard with anger. The humans attacked us. They shut down our ship with some kind of weapon. They're holding us hostage. They could have destroyed us, Karis pointed out. They could have killed us all. Instead, they're talking. Because they want us to betray our own people. Syra snapped. They want us to send a message telling our fleet to run away, to surrender without fighting. Don't you see? This is psychological warfare. They're trying to break our will. Or maybe they're trying to avoid a war. Kelris shot back. Enough. My voice cut through their argument. Both of you. I need facts, not emotions. Till then, I turned to our science officer. Can you determine how they shut us down? Turlin had been working quietly since the lights returned. His hands moved across controls, pulling up diagnostic data, system logs, error reports. It's extraordinary, he said quietly. Every system failed at exactly the same moment. Not just main systems. Everything, even isolated backup circuits with no physical connection to the primary network. It's as if someone activated a master switch that doesn't exist. Could it be an EMP? Syra asked. Some kind of electromagnetic pulse weapon? No. EMP damage has a signature. This is different. The systems aren't damaged. They were simply turned off. Cleanly. Precisely. Tur then pulled up more data. Look at this. The reactor shutdown sequence. It's perfect. Every control rod inserted at optimal speed. Every safety protocol followed exactly. The reactor didn't fail. It was shut down properly by someone who knew precisely what they were doing. How is that possible? I demanded. Our reactor controls are isolated, air-gapped from all other systems. Nothing can access them remotely. I know, Turlin said. That's what makes this so terrifying. Commander, they didn't hack our systems. They controlled them, directly, like they had physical access to every circuit, every processor, every control interface simultaneously, from 20,000 kilometers away. Silence fell across the bridge. There's more, Turlin continued. I've analyzed the communications logs. The Admiral was right. We've been compromised since we arrived. Every transmission we sent had a piggyback signal attached automatically. Our own systems added those signals, and we never noticed. When were we reprogrammed? I demanded. I don't know. The modifications are written into core firmware. They might have been there for hours, days, or... He hesitated. Or they could have been added the moment we entered sensor range. I have no way to tell. Syra slammed her fist against her console. This is impossible. You're telling me the humans can rewrite our programming remotely? Control every system we have? That's not technology. That's magic. It's not magic, Kelra said quietly. It's just technology we don't understand yet. Think about it. What would our ancestors from 5,000 years ago say about our ships? About FTL travel? About artificial gravity? They call it magic too. So you're saying the humans are 5,000 years ahead of us? Syra demanded. Maybe, or maybe they just took a different path. Developed different technologies. Found solutions to problems we haven't thought to ask. 45:17. The timer kept counting. I felt pressure building in my skull. Every option felt like betrayal. If I sent the message warning Central Command to abort, I'd be admitting defeat, telling the Imperium that humanity was too powerful to fight, that we should back down, retreat, abandon expansion into human space. But if I didn't send a message, the battle fleet would sail into a trap. 120 warships, thousands of crew members. All of them would die. Or worse, disabled and captured. Either way, disaster. Sir, Nissa spoke up, I should mention something. The humans didn't just restore our communications. They gave us priority access. Our transmission will reach Central Command instantly. No lag. No delay. It's like they've opened a direct channel through their own network. Of course they did, Syra said bitterly. They want to make it easy for us to betray our people. Or prevent unnecessary deaths, Kelris countered. Stop calling it that. Syra turned on her. This isn't about preventing deaths. This is about control, power. The humans built this armada. They developed these weapons. They want to conquer us, just like Central Command wants to conquer them. The only difference is they struck first. Did they? Kelris pulled up a star chart. Look at our position. We're inside what the humans claim is their territory. We crossed the border 5 days ago. From their perspective, we're the invaders. Those borders aren't recognized by the Imperium. Enough! My voice cracked like a whip. Both officers fell silent. I don't care about politics. I don't care about borders. I care about my crew and my duty. Focus on facts. I stood and moved to the center of the bridge. Every eye followed me. Fact 1. The humans have technology far beyond what our intelligence predicted. Fact 2. They knew we were here from the beginning. They've controlled this entire situation. Fact 3. They have the capability to disable our ships at will. Fact 4, they're giving us a choice. Some choice, Syra muttered. It's more choice than they had to give us, Kelris replied. They could have destroyed us, left our battle fleet to sail into their trap without warning. But they didn't. They're talking. That means something. It means they're afraid, Syra insisted. Afraid that even with their technology, they might lose in real battle. So they're trying to scare us away. Or it means they really don't want war, Kelris said softly. I turned to her. What do you think? Honestly. Kelris took a breath. She looked at the data on her console, the power readings, the technical analysis, the evidence. I think Admiral Voss is telling the truth. I think if our battle fleet engages them, it will be a massacre. Not because the humans are cruel, but because they're prepared. They've been preparing for this, maybe for decades. While we dismiss them as primitives, they were building weapons to defeat us. You think we should send a message? I think we should tell Central Command the truth. What they do with that information is their choice. But they deserve to know what they're facing. Syra shook her head. If we send that message, we'll be labeled cowards. Traitors. They'll say we broke under pressure, that we let the humans intimidate us. Better to be called a coward than watch thousands of our people die, Kelris replied. 30:00. I looked around the bridge. My crew, my responsibility. Then, I said, show me the classified brief from Central Command, the one about human space. He hesitated. Sir, that's classified. The crew isn't cleared. Show them. He pulled up the file. The contents appeared on the main view screen, where everyone could see the clinical language, the code calculations, population management, resource extraction, labor conscription. The bridge fell silent as they read. I watched their faces change, saw the moment they understood what our government was planning. This is what we're defending. I said quietly, this is what Central Command wants to do to the humans. Not defend against invasion, not protect territory, conquer, enslave, strip their worlds bare. That's just strategy, Syra said, but her voice had lost conviction. Military planning. It means exactly what it says, Kelris interrupted. Don't hide from it. Don't pretend it's something else. The Imperium wants to destroy human civilization, and the humans know it. That's why they're here. That's why they built this fleet. 27:33. I made my decision. Open a channel to Central Command. Priority Alpha. Fleet Commander eyes only. I'm sending the message. Syra stood. Sir, I must protest. Your objection is noted and logged. I cut her off, but I'm the commander of this vessel. The decision is mine, and I've made it. I moved to the communication station and began composing the message. My fingers moved across the holographic keyboard. Each word was carefully chosen, precise, honest. I told them everything. The human fleet, their capabilities, the system shut down, the intercepted communications, Admiral Voss's warning, and then I added my own assessment. Central Command, I have served the Imperium loyally for 43 cycles. I have fought in 3 wars. I have never questioned my orders, but I question them now. The humans are not primitives. They are not weak. They are apex predators who have been watching us far longer than we've watched them. What we saw was what they wanted us to see. Their true capabilities are beyond our current understanding. Engaging them would not be war. It would be extinction. I paused, fingers hovering over the keyboard. This was the moment. Once I sent this, there was no taking it back. Asterisk, they could have destroyed us. They chose conversation. But make no mistake, this is a species that has weaponized mercy itself. They shut down our ship to prove they could shut down an entire fleet. I believe them. I recommend immediate withdrawal of all forces. I recommend diplomatic contact. I recommend we treat humanity as equals, not as prey. Because if we don't, we will learn what it means to be prey ourselves. I read the message one final time. It was career suicide. Central Command would never forgive this. They might court-martial me, strip me of rank, imprison me for cowardice. But my crew would live. The battle fleet might live. Thousands of Draknari who didn't deserve to die in a pointless war might live. That was worth more than my career. Send it. I ordered. Nissa press a control. The message burst through the quantum channel. Instant transmission, just like the humans promised. 25:48. Now what? Kelris asked. Now we wait, I said. We wait and see if anyone listened. The minutes crawled by like wounded animals. 2000 hours. 1958. 1957. The message was sent. No taking it back now. Somewhere, 40 light years away, Central Command was reading my words. My assessment, my recommendation to retreat. My career was over. I knew that, even if the Imperium survived this crisis, even if my warning saved thousands of lives, they would never forgive me for questioning orders, for showing weakness, for admitting another species was superior. But I could live with that, as long as my crew lived too. Sir, Nissa said quietly, we're receiving acknowledgement from Central Command. Message received and logged. Any response? Not yet. It's only been 5 minutes. They need time to process it, to decide. 5 minutes. It felt like hours. Syra sat at her tactical station, staring at her dead weapons console. Her face was stone. Disapproval radiated from her like heat. Kelris, on the other hand, looked relieved. She worked at her station, analyzing the human fleet data one more time. Always studying. Always learning. Turthan was still trying to understand the shutdown mechanism. His screen showed cascading system diagrams, flowcharts of circuits and processors. He muttered to himself, occasionally shaking his head in disbelief. The rest of the crew worked in tense silence. Professionals following orders. But I could feel the uncertainty in the air. They didn't know if they were heroes or traitors yet. History would decide that. 1,500 hours. Commander, Turthan called out, I think I understand how they did it. Everyone turned to look at him. It's the quantum processors, he explained, pulling up diagrams. Our ships use quantum computing for navigation and targeting. The processors exist in multiple states simultaneously. That's what makes them so fast. But it also makes them vulnerable. Vulnerable how? I asked. Quantum entanglement. If someone could entangle their own quantum system with ours, they could influence our processors directly, not hack them, not send signals. Actually reach inside the quantum states and change them. It would be like having direct access to every calculation our computers make. That sounds impossible, Syra said. So did everything else the humans have done, Turthan replied. But the mathematics works. If they have quantum computers powerful enough, and if they understand quantum mechanics better than we do, they could theoretically do exactly what they did. Reach into our systems and turn them off. All of them. Simultaneously. How far ahead would they need to be? I asked, to have that capability? Turthan was quiet for a moment. Decades. Maybe centuries. It's not just one breakthrough. It's a complete understanding of quantum mechanics at a level we haven't reached. The implications hung heavy in the air. The humans weren't just slightly more advanced. They were fundamentally ahead. They'd solved problems Draknari science was still struggling with. How did they do it? Kelris wondered aloud. How did they advance so quickly? 200 years ago, they were barely leaving their home planet. Now they're controlling quantum states across thousands of kilometers. What happened? Maybe they got help, Syra suggested, from another species. Or maybe they found ancient technology. Or maybe they're just better at this than we are, Turthan said quietly. Different species have different strengths. The VRYNN were master geneticists. The Kelthri understood energy manipulation better than anyone. Maybe humans are naturally gifted with computers and quantum mechanics. That's a frightening thought, I said. It should be, Turthan agreed. 10 o'clock. My console beeped. Incoming transmission. My heart jumped. Was it Central Command? Had they responded already? But the source wasn't Draknari. It was from the human fleet. Sir, Admiral Voss is hailing us again, Nissa reported. On screen, the view screen activated. Admiral Voss appeared, looking exactly as before. Calm, professional, in control. Commander Vexra, she said. I saw that you sent your message to Central Command. Thank you. That took courage. You read my message? I felt anger rising. That was encrypted, classified, highest security level. Commander, by now you should understand that your encryption means nothing to us. We can read everything. We have been reading everything. That's why we're in this position. She was right. Of course she was right. But it still stung. What do you want? I asked. I want to show you something. Something that might help you understand why we're doing this. Admiral Voss gestured off-screen. The image changed. The screen now showed a planet. Blue and green. Oceans and continents. Clouds swirling in beautiful patterns. It looked peaceful. Alive. This is Terra, Voss's voice explained. Our home. 10 billion people live there. Humans. All of them. Our only home for thousands of years. The image zoomed in. Cities appeared, massive urban centers connected by transit networks. Farmland, forest mountains, deserts. We're not like you, Voss continued. The Draknari have dozens of worlds, hundreds of colonies. If one planet falls, you have others, but we have only Terra. And when we discovered we weren't alone in the galaxy, when we learned about species like yours, we had to ask ourselves a question. What happens if they come for us? The image changed. Now it showed a Draknari warship, one of the older designs, attacking a colony world. 17 years ago, we intercepted communications from a Draknari raid on a Keltari colony. We watched from a distance. We saw what your fleet did to that world. The bombardment, the invasion, the occupation. Admiral Voss's face reappeared. Her expression was hard now, cold, and we realized that when you found us, you would do the same thing. Maybe not immediately. Maybe you'd study us first. But eventually you would come, and we would have no choice but to fight or die. So you built this fleet, I said, to strike first. No, we built this fleet to make sure you never strike at all. Commander, do you know how long we've been preparing for this? 22 years. More than 2 decades of research, development, construction, all in secret. We mined asteroids for raw materials. We built shipyards in the dark spaces between stars. We developed technology specifically designed to counter Draknari military doctrine. The screen showed images of human construction, massive orbital facilities, ship hulls taking shape in the void, weapon systems being tested. We studied you, Voss said. We learned everything we could, your tactics, your strategies, your weaknesses, and then we built a fleet specifically designed to defeat you, not to invade your space, not to conquer your worlds, just to make absolutely certain that attacking Terra will be the last mistake you ever make. You're threatening us, I said. No, we're protecting ourselves. There's a difference. Voss leaned forward. Commander, I know you read the classified brief from Central Command. You know what they were planning to do to us. Population management, resource extraction, labor conscription. They were planning to destroy human civilization, to turn our people into slaves, to strip our world bare. I didn't know, I said quietly. Most of us didn't know. I believe you, but your leaders knew, and they were going to do it anyway. So we had to stop them. We had to show them that we're not prey, that we're predators too, and that attacking us would cost more than they're willing to pay. 5 o'clock. Your battle fleet is still heading toward the nebula of Echoes, Voss said. 120 warships. Thousands of crew members. Good soldiers, I'm sure. Following orders. Doing their duty. Just like you. She paused. In 5 minutes, your hour will be up. If Central Command hasn't ordered that fleet to stand down by then, we'll have to demonstrate our capabilities. We won't kill anyone. We'll simply disable one ship. Just one. Shut down all its systems. Leave it drifting until support ships can recover it. That's all. One ship. One demonstration. To prove we're not bluffing. And if that doesn't work, I asked. Voss's expression was grim. Then we shut down the entire fleet. And we do what we must to protect Terra. I don't want that, Commander. I truly don't. But I will do it if necessary. Every human in this fleet will do it because we're defending our home, our families, everything we love, and we will not let your Imperium take that from us. The screen went dark. 4 o'clock. My hands gripped the armrests until my knuckles were white. For minutes. Communications, I said. Any response from Central Command? Nothing yet, sir. Keep monitoring. Alert me immediately. 3 o'clock. Syra spoke up, her voice quiet, subdued, very different from earlier. Sir, do you think they'll really do it? Shut down one of our ships. Yes, I said simply. They've already proven they can. Why wouldn't they? It just seems cruel to disable a ship and leave the crew helpless, waiting for rescue, knowing they could be destroyed at any moment. It's more merciful than destroying them outright, Kelris pointed out, which they could also do. I know. Syra trailed off. I thought we were the dominant power in this region. I thought we were unstoppable. And now I find out we're not. It's hard to accept. It's hard for all of us, I said. But accepting hard truths is part of being a soldier. 2 o'clock. Tur then looked up from his console. Sir, I'm detecting power fluctuations in the human fleet. Multiple ships showing increased reactor output. Weapon systems charging. They're preparing, Kelris said, getting ready to make their demonstration. 1 o'clock. The bridge was silent, except for the soft beeping of the countdown. Every crew member watched it, waiting, hoping. 0:30. Come on, Kelris whispered. Answer. Please answer. 0:20. I closed my eyes. I'd done everything I could. Sent a message. Warned them. The rest was out of my hands. 0:10. Sir. Nissa's voice cracked with urgency. Incoming transmission from Central Command. It's a fleet-wide broadcast. On speaker. Now. The voice of Supreme Commander Draken filled the bridge. Cold. Authoritative. Absolute. All ships of Battle Group 7. This is Fleet Command. New orders. Stand down all offensive operations. Maintain defensive posture only. Do not engage the human fleet. I repeat, do not engage. All ships are to hold position and await further instructions. Midnight. The timer reached 0. But nothing happened. The human fleet didn't fire. No ships were disabled. No demonstration. Just silence. I opened my eyes. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear in my ears. They'd listened. Central Command had actually listened. The view screen activated one more time. Admiral Voss appeared. This time she was smiling, just slightly, a small, tired smile. Thank you, Commander, she said. You may have just saved thousands of lives on both sides. Your ship systems will be fully restored in 1 hour. We'll be monitoring to ensure your fleet complies with the stand-down order. If they do, there will be no further action from us. Just distance. And, hopefully in time, dialogue. What happens now? I asked. Now we see if your leaders are smart enough to choose peace over war. We'll see if they can accept that humanity is not going to be their victim. And we'll see if two species heading toward war can find a better path. Admiral Voss's image faded. The screen went dark. I slumped back in my command chair. The tension that had held me rigid for the past hour suddenly released. I felt exhausted, drained, but alive. My crew began to stir. Quiet conversations, nervous laughter. The sound of people realizing they'd survived something that could have killed them all. Syra turned to face me. Her expression was complex. Shame, respect, gratitude. Sir, I owe you an apology. I was wrong about everything. You were doing what you thought was right. I said, that's all any of us can do. Still, you made the hard choice. The right choice. I should have trusted your judgment. I nodded. Apology accepted. Kelris was smiling. Actually smiling. We did it. We actually prevented a war. Maybe, I cautioned, or maybe we just delayed it. Time will tell. Either way, she said, we're alive to find out. That's worth celebrating. The ship's systems began coming back online. Slowly. One by one, the humans were keeping their promise. Propulsion systems activated, weapons rebooted, navigation came online, life support strengthened. The Crimson Shadow was whole again, functional, ready, but everything had changed. The certainty was gone, the confidence, the belief that the Draknari Imperium was the dominant power in this region of space. Now we knew the truth. We had seen what humanity could do, and that knowledge would change everything. The Crimson Shadow now sat in a docking bay at Draknari Central Command. The ship had been examined by every expert in the Imperium. Engineers studied how the humans shut it down. Scientists analyzed every system looking for vulnerabilities. Military strategists pored over every detail of the encounter. Their conclusion was simple and terrifying. The humans could do it again, to any ship, at any time. There was no defense, no countermeasure. The Draknari would need decades of research just to understand how it worked, let alone protect against it. I stood in a conference room deep inside the command complex. Through the window, I could see the capital city of Draknar Prime spread out below. Millions of lights, billions of citizens, all living under the shadow of humanity's power. The door opened. Supreme Commander Draken entered, followed by several high-ranking officers. They took seats around the long table. I remained standing at attention. At ease, Commander, Draken said. His voice was tired. The past 6 months had aged him. Lines had appeared on his face that hadn't been there before. Please sit. I sat. I'd been summoned here, without explanation. I didn't know if I was receiving a commendation or facing a court-martial. Possibly both. Commander Vexra, Draken began, your message 6 months ago was controversial. Many in Central Command wanted you arrested for cowardice, for defeatism, for undermining military morale during an active operation. Here it comes, I thought, the court-martial, the end of my career. However, Draken continued, your message also saved 120 ships and approximately 17,000 crew members from certain destruction. Our analysts have confirmed your assessment. If Battle Group 7 had engaged the human fleet, they would have been annihilated. The humans could have shut down every ship simultaneously, just as Admiral Voss claimed. The Supreme Commander paused. He looked directly at me. You disobeyed the spirit of your orders. You questioned the wisdom of Central Command. You recommended retreat in the face of the enemy. Under normal circumstances, these actions would end your career. Another pause. These are not normal circumstances. You are hereby promoted to captain. You will continue to command the Crimson Shadow and will lead our new reconnaissance division focused on human space. I sat in stunned silence. A promotion. I'd expected punishment, not reward. Sir, I don't know what to say. Don't say anything yet. There's more. Draken activated a holographic display at the center of the table. It showed a star chart of the border region between Draknari and human space. The political situation has changed dramatically. The humans have formally requested diplomatic relations. They want a summit. Negotiations. They want to establish treaties and trade agreements. They're not invading? I asked. No, they never were. Their fleet was always defensive in nature, designed to deter attack, not to conquer. We were the aggressors. Captain, we were planning the invasion. The humans were simply preparing to defend themselves. Draken's expression was bitter, a fact that has caused significant embarrassment for the Imperium on the galactic stage. Another officer spoke up, Admiral Thresh, head of Draknari intelligence. When the humans released evidence of our invasion plans to the Galactic Council, it caused an uproar. Other species that we had colonized or conquered in the past suddenly had proof of our methods. Several worlds have petitioned for independence. Trade agreements have been suspended. The Imperium's reputation has been severely damaged. The humans released classified intelligence. I was shocked. That's a violation of... Of what? Thresh interrupted. Diplomatic norms? We had no diplomatic relationship with them. They owed us nothing. And they released only enough information to prove we were planning to attack them. They could have released everything, every secret operation, every classified plan, every hidden agenda of the Imperium. But they didn't. They showed restraint, which makes us look even worse. Draken brought up another display. This one showed a document, a treaty, the Draknari Human Non-Aggression Pact, he explained. Signed 2 months ago. We formally recognize human territorial claims. We agree not to conduct military operations within 50 light years of their borders. They agree to the same regarding our space. There are provisions for trade, for cultural exchange, for mutual defense against external threats. We agreed to mutual defense? I couldn't believe it. With the humans? Think about it, Captain. If the humans can shut down our ships, what's to stop them from shutting down anyone else's ships? The VRYNN, the Swarm, even the ancient ones, if they ever return. Humanity has essentially created the perfect defensive weapon, and now they're offering to use it to protect their allies. The implications were staggering. Humanity had gone from unknown primitives to essential allies in less than a year. Other species have taken notice, Thresh added. The Kel-3 signed a treaty with Terra 3 weeks ago. The Federation of Free Systems opened an embassy on Terra last month. Even the VRYNN, who never ally with anyone, have sent envoys to negotiate trade agreements. The entire galactic political landscape has shifted, Draken said. And it's because of what you witnessed, Captain. Because of the message you sent. You saw the truth before anyone else. You understood that humanity was not a threat to be eliminated, but a power to be respected. I thought about that day 6 months ago. The fear, the uncertainty, the impossible choice. Sir, may I ask a question? Of course. Do we know how the humans advanced so quickly? How they developed technology that's decades or centuries beyond ours? Draken and Thresh exchanged glances. We have theories, Thresh said. Our best assessment is that humans approach the problem differently than we did. We focus on incremental improvements to existing technology, steady progress, predictable development. The humans took risks. They pursued radical ideas. They weren't constrained by tradition or conventional thinking. They also worked in secret, Draken added. For 22 years, they built their fleet without anyone knowing. That kind of focus, that dedication toward a single goal, produces remarkable results. And they were motivated, Thresh said quietly. They knew that if they didn't become strong enough to defend themselves, they would be conquered. That kind of existential threat focuses the mind wonderfully. The door opened again. Kelrus entered, followed by Syra and several other crew members from the Crimson Shadow. They all looked nervous. Ah, excellent, Draken said. Your crew is here. They're all receiving commendations as well. Your tactical officer, Syra, is being promoted to lieutenant commander. Your second officer, Kelrus, is now a full commander and will be your executive officer. Kelrus's eyes went wide. Syra looked like she might faint. Your crew performed admirably during crisis, Draken continued. They remained professional under extreme circumstances. They gathered vital intelligence. And most importantly, they survived an encounter that could easily have killed them all. The Supreme Commander stood. Everyone else stood as well. The mission of your new reconnaissance division is simple. Monitor human space. Not as spies, not as potential enemies, but as neighbors. We need to understand them, to learn from them, to build a relationship based on mutual respect rather than fear. He walked to the window and looked out at the city. The galaxy is changing, Captain. Species that were isolated are now communicating. Powers that were rivals are now allies. And at the center of it all is humanity, a species that by all rights should have been easy prey. Instead, they taught us a lesson. They taught us that strength comes in many forms, and that sometimes the greatest power is the willingness to show mercy. Draken turned back to face us. Captain Vexra, you and your crew will be attending the Galactic Summit next month. Terra is hosting it. Every major power will be there. It's the first time humans have hosted a galactic event. Your presence has been specifically requested by Admiral Voss. She wants you there. She does? I was surprised. She said you were the first Draknari to truly see humanity as they are, not as primitives, not as prey, but as equals. She wants you there as a symbol. A reminder that enemies can become friends. The meeting continued for another hour. Details about the new reconnaissance division, protocols for interaction with human space, intelligence priorities, training schedules. When it finally ended, I found myself walking through the halls of Central Command with Kelris and Syra. "This is insane," Syra said. "6 months ago, I thought the humans were trying to conquer us. Now we're allies." "Not quite allies yet," Kelris corrected. "But we're not enemies anymore. That's progress." "It's more than progress," I said. "It's a miracle. We were headed straight for war. Thousands, maybe millions, would have died. But we stopped. We chose to talk instead of fight." "You chose," Syra said. "You sent that message. You took the risk." "If I hadn't, someone else would have," I said. But I didn't quite believe it. The decision had been mine. The responsibility had been mine. And somehow, impossibly, it had worked out. We reached the docking bay where the Crimson Shadow waited. The ship had been upgraded. New sensors, improved communications, better stealth systems. Though everyone knew that if the humans wanted to detect us, they would. Stealth only worked if the other side allowed it. I stood at the airlock, looking at my ship, my crew, my responsibility. "Sir," Kelris said quietly, "do you think we can really do this? Build a real relationship with humanity?" "I don't know," I admitted, "but we have to try, because the alternative is unthinkable." "What do you think they're like?" Syra asked. "Really like. Not their technology or their military, but them, as people." I thought about Admiral Voss, her calm voice, her precise words, her willingness to show mercy when she could have shown strength. "I think they're like us," I said finally, "afraid of the unknown, protective of their home, willing to fight when necessary, but also willing to make peace when possible. We're not so different, really." "Then maybe there's hope," Kelris said. The next month passed quickly. Preparation for the summit, briefings on human culture and customs, language training, protocol lessons. The entire crew of the Crimson Shadow became experts on humanity. Finally, the day came. We boarded a diplomatic transport and traveled to Terra, the home world of the species that had changed everything. As the ship dropped out of FDL at the edge of the solar system, I got my first look at human space. It was beautiful. Orbital habitats circled Terra like jewels. Space stations of incredible size and complexity. Ship construction yards building new vessels. Defense platforms that made Draknari fortresses look primitive. And everywhere movement. Ships traveling to and from the planet. Cargo haulers. Passenger transports. Military patrols. Human space was alive with activity. "They've been busy," Syra observed. "They've always been busy," Kelris replied. "We just didn't notice." The transport was escorted by 2 human ships. Not warships, just escorts. But I recognized the design. They were from the fleet I followed 6 months ago. Smaller vessels, but still more advanced than anything the Draknari had. We approached Terra slowly. The planet grew larger in the viewport. Blue oceans, green and brown continents, white clouds. It looked peaceful, fragile, even. Hard to believe this small world had produced a technology that humbled the Imperium. "Incoming transmission," the communications officer announced. "It's from Terra." On screen, Admiral Voss appeared. She wore a formal uniform now, decorated with medals and ribbons. But her expression was the same, calm, professional, warm even. "Captain Vexra, welcome to Terra. It's good to see you again." "Admiral Voss, thank you for the invitation. I'm glad you accepted. There are a lot of people here who want to meet you. You're something of a celebrity, you know, the Draknari commander who chose peace over war. That means something to us." I just did what I thought was right. That's exactly why it means something. Voss smiled. "Your escort will guide you to the orbital summit station. We'll meet there in a few hours. I'm looking forward to a proper conversation this time, one where I'm not threatening to shut down your ship." The transmission ended. The escort ships guided us to a massive orbital station. It was new, built specifically for the summit. Representatives from dozens of species were already there. As I and my crew disembarked, we were greeted by a human diplomat, a young woman with dark hair and a friendly smile. Captain Vexra, I'm Ambassador Chun. Welcome to Unity Station. That's what we're calling it. A bit optimistic maybe, but we like to think positive. She led us through the station. It was impressive. Large, well-designed, built to accommodate different species with different needs. Sections with different gravity levels, different atmospheres, different temperatures. The humans had thought of everything. How long did it take to build this? Kelris asked. For months, Ambassador Chun replied. We had a lot of people working on it. And we had help from the Kelthri. They're excellent engineers. For months, the Draknari would have needed years to build something like this. We entered a large conference hall. It was already filling with delegates. I recognized species from across the galaxy. The Kelthri, the VRYNN, the Federation, even the mysterious Whisperers, who rarely attended diplomatic events. And then I saw her. Admiral Voss stood near the center of the hall, speaking with a VRYNN commander. She looked up as I entered. Our eyes met. She excused herself and walked over. Captain, she said, extending her hand in the human gesture of greeting. It's genuinely good to see you. I took her hand carefully. Human handshakes were strange, but I practiced. Admiral, your station is impressive. Thank you. We wanted to make a good impression. She gestured around the hall. Everyone's here. All the major powers. All because of what happened 6 months ago. Because you and I chose to talk instead of fight. You forced a conversation. I pointed out. True, but you participated. You could have refused. You could have told your fleet to attack anyway. But you didn't. That took courage. Or cowardice. Many in my government still debate which. Voss's expression grew serious. It wasn't cowardice. Cowardice is easy. It's doing nothing. Making the hard choice, the one that saves lives but costs you personally, that's courage. Real courage. A chime sounded. The summit was beginning. Everyone moved to their seats. The humans had arranged the hall so that no species had a dominant position. Everyone was equal. Everyone had a voice. A human man stepped to the central podium. He was older, with gray hair and kind eyes. He wore a simple suit, not a uniform. Welcome, he said. His words were translated into dozens of languages simultaneously. I am Secretary General Martinez of Terra. Thank you all for coming to Unity Station. Thank you for giving us a chance to prove that humanity wants to be part of the galactic community. Not as conquerors, not as victims, but as partners. He spoke for several minutes about cooperation, mutual benefit, the future. Then he said something that made me sit up straighter. 6 months ago, we were on the brink of war with the Draknari Imperium, a war that would have been devastating for both sides. But one person made a choice that changed everything. Captain Vexra of the Draknari scout vessel Crimson Shadow chose truth over loyalty, peace over orders, lives over pride. Captain, would you please stand? I felt every eye in the hall turn to me. Slowly I stood. This summit exists because of your courage. Martinez continued. Because you showed us that even species heading toward war can find a better path. On behalf of humanity, thank you. The hall erupted in applause. Not just from the humans, from everyone. I stood there, overwhelmed, as representatives from dozens of species acknowledged what I'd done. I caught Admiral Voss's eye. She was smiling, proud, like I'd done something worthy of respect. Maybe I had. The summit lasted 3 days. Discussions about trade routes, defense agreements, cultural exchanges, technology-sharing protocols, scientific cooperation. So many topics. So many possibilities. On the final day, I found myself alone with Admiral Voss on an observation deck. We stood side by side, looking down at Terra. It's beautiful, I said. It is, and it's worth protecting. That's all we ever wanted. Just to keep our home safe. I understand that now. I wish I'd understood it sooner. Voss was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Can I tell you something? A secret? Of course. We were terrified the whole time, building the fleet, developing the weapons. confronting your battle group. All of it. We were absolutely terrified it wouldn't work, that you'd see through our bluff, that we'd have to actually fight. It wasn't a bluff, I said. You could shut down our ships. You proved it. We could shut down one ship at a time, Voss corrected. Maybe 2 or 3 if we pushed it. But a whole fleet? 120 ships simultaneously? That was the bluff. We couldn't do it. Not then. Maybe in a few years. But not then. I stared at her. You couldn't. No, but you didn't know that. And Central Command didn't know that. So when I said we could do it, you believed me. And that belief was enough. You risked everything on a bluff. We risked everything on the hope that you were reasonable, that you would choose life over death when given the choice. And we were right. She looked at me. You proved that the Draknari are capable of wisdom, of growth, of change. That's worth more than any weapon. I thought about all the lives that have been saved, all the destruction that had been prevented, all because of a calculated risk, and a hope that reason would prevail. What happens now? I asked, between our people? That's up to us. All of us. But I think we have a chance to build something good, something that benefits everyone. The Draknari have experience, history, stability. Humanity has innovation, energy, new perspectives. Together, we could accomplish remarkable things. Together, I repeated, the word felt strange, but also right. There's a human saying, Voss continued, we come in peace, but we plan for war. That's our philosophy now. We'll always be ready to defend ourselves, but we'll always prefer peace, always offer the hand of friendship first. And if that hand is rejected, her expression hardened briefly, then softened, then we use the other hand, the one holding the weapon. But I hope we never have to. I hope that what happened between us becomes a model. Conflict resolved through strength and reason, not violence. We stood in silence for a while, watching terror turn slowly below us. Finally, Voss spoke again. You should visit sometime. Not for a summit or a diplomatic mission. Just a visit. See our world. Meet our people. We're not so different from you. We want the same things, safety, prosperity, a future for our children. I would like that, I said, and I meant it. When the summit ended, my crew and I returned to the Crimson Shadow. We prepared to depart Terra System and return to Draknari space. As we left orbit, Kelrus came to stand beside my command chair. Sir, I've been thinking about what Admiral Voss said, about coming in peace but planning for war. That's what we should have done, what we should do. Not assume everyone is an enemy, but not assume everyone is a friend either. Be ready for both. Wisdom from experience. I observed. That's what this whole situation taught us. The price of arrogance. The value of respect. Do you think it will last? She asked. The peace. I didn't answer immediately. I looked at my crew, at my ship, at the stars beyond the viewport. I don't know, I said finally, but we have something now that we didn't have before. Understanding. Communication. A chance. That's more than we had 6 months ago. The Crimson Shadow jumped to FTL, leaving human space behind. But the memory of Terra stayed with us. The memory of a species that refused to be victims, that turned fear into strength, that chose to make friends out of potential enemies. And across the galaxy, the story spread. The story of the Draknari scout ship that discovered humanity's power. The story of the commander who chose peace. The story of 2 species who stood at the edge of war and stepped back. It became legend, a reminder, a hope that even in a galaxy full of danger and conflict, there was always another choice, always another path. And sometimes the bravest thing anyone could do was choose mercy over vengeance, understanding over fear, peace over war. The conference room on Unity Station, now a permanent diplomatic facility orbiting Terra, was filled with representatives from across the known galaxy. I stood at the podium, wearing the formal uniform of the Draknari Diplomatic Corps, a position I never imagined I'd hold. 2 years ago, I began, my words translated into dozens of languages. I followed a human fleet into what I thought would be enemy territory. I believed I was tracking an invasion force. I believed my people were under threat. I paused, looking around the room. So many faces, so many species, all listening. I was right about the threat, but I was wrong about who posed it. Murmurs rippled through the audience. The humans weren't invading. They were defending. And in doing so, they taught the Draknari, taught all of us, a lesson we desperately needed to learn. That strength without wisdom is just brutality. That power without restraint is just tyranny. And that the greatest victory isn't defeating your enemy. It's making them your friend. I gestured to Admiral Voss, who sat in the front row. She nodded slightly. 2 years ago, Admiral Voss could have destroyed my ship. She could have killed me and my entire crew. She could have annihilated our battle fleet. Instead, she talked to me. She showed me the truth. She gave me a choice. I looked directly at the Draknari delegation, several high-ranking officials who had initially called for my court-martial. They looked uncomfortable. I made that choice. And in making it, I betrayed nothing. I sacrificed nothing. I defended everything that matters. Life, peace, the future. Today, Draknari and humans work together, trade together, learn from each other. Our children study in each other's schools. Our scientists collaborate on research. Our merchants prosper from mutual exchange. I pulled up a holographic display showing economic data, scientific achievements, culture exchanges, all fruits of the alliance forged 2 years ago. This is what we almost lost. This is what we almost destroyed because of fear and arrogance. And this is what we preserved because one species had the wisdom to show mercy and another had the wisdom to accept it. The room fell silent. I've been asked to speak today about conflict resolution, about preventing war, about building peace. And the answer is simple, though not easy. See your enemy as they truly are, not as your fear imagines them, not as your prejudice portrays them, but as they actually are. I looked at Admiral Voss again. She was smiling. The humans weren't monsters. They were people defending their home. Once I understood that, once I truly saw them, the choice became obvious. Peace was the only rational option. War would have been insanity. I deactivated the holographic display. Today, the Draknari-Human Alliance is a foundation of galactic stability. Other species have joined. The Kelthari, the VRYNN, the Federation. Even the Whisperers have begun participating in diplomatic discourse. All because 2 species chose understanding over violence. I stepped back from the podium. That is the lesson. That is the legacy. And that is the future we can build, if we're wise enough to choose it. The room erupted in applause. As I returned to my seat, Kelris leaned over and whispered, "Well said, sir, though you forgot to mention how terrified you were the entire time." I smiled. Some truths are better left unsaid. After the conference, I found myself once again on an observation deck with Admiral Voss. It had become something of a tradition. After major diplomatic events, we'd retreat to a quiet place and talk. Just talk. You become quite the diplomat, Voss said. Who would have thought? A military commander turned peacemonger. I prefer peace advocate, I said. Mongering sounds so aggressive. She laughed. That was another change. 2 years ago, I wouldn't have imagined making a human laugh. Now it felt natural. "How's your crew?" she asked. "Thriving. Kelris is being considered for her own command, a joint Draknari-human research vessel. Syra is teaching at the Tactical Academy, showing the next generation how to think differently about conflict. Even Turthan has been recruited by the Joint Scientific Initiative. They're trying to reverse engineer your quantum control technology. Good luck with that," Voss said. "It took us 2 decades to develop it." "Oh, they know. But now they have human scientists helping them. Cooperation makes everything faster." Voss nodded, looking out at Terra below. The planet had become a symbol, not just of human resilience, but of what could be achieved when species work together instead of against each other. "Can I tell you something else?" Voss said. "Another secret?" "Always. That day, when we shut down your ship, I was more scared than you were." I looked at her in surprise. "You? Scared? You seem completely in control." "Performance," she said. I was terrified. Not that the technology wouldn't work. I knew it would, but that you wouldn't listen. That you'd be so convinced we were enemies that no amount of reason would reach you. That I have actually demonstrated our capabilities on a crewed vessel, which would have meant deaths, casualties, permanent damage to any hope of peace. But you took the risk anyway. What choice did I have? Let your fleet attack? Watch thousands die on both sides? No, I had to try. Had a hope that at least one Draknari officer would be rational enough to see past the propaganda and make the right choice. She turned to face me fully. You could have been a coward, Vexra. You could have sent no message. Let your superiors make the decision. Covered yourself. Kept your career safe. But you didn't. You took responsibility. You made the hard choice. And you saved both our peoples. You made it easy, I said. You gave me all the information I needed. You showed me the truth. I gave you data. You chose to believe it. That's the difference. Voss smiled. You know what the human leadership wanted to do when they first detected your ship following us? What? Destroy it. Immediately. Remove the witness. Proceed with the mission. But I refused. I said if we start this relationship by killing, we'll never stop killing. We had to try diplomacy, even if it was risky, even if it might fail. And now I'm glad I did, because this... She gestured at Terra, at Unity Station, at everything around us. This is so much better than the alternative. We stood in comfortable silence for a while. What's next for you? Voss asked eventually. I've been offered a position of Draknari ambassador to Terra, I said. Permanent posting. And I'm considering it. It would mean leaving active military service, living on Terra, immersing myself in human culture. That sounds terrible, Voss said with mock horror. Beautiful weather, excellent food, fascinating people. How will you survive? I laughed. It's a big change. Big changes are good. You taught me that. 2 years ago, we were enemies. Now we're friends. If that can change, anything can. Friends, I said, testing the word. Yes, I suppose we are. You suppose? Voss raised an eyebrow. Come on, Captain. We've saved each other's civilizations, spent countless hours in diplomatic negotiations, shared drinks at more conferences than I can count. If that's not friendship, what is? She was right. Somewhere along the way, through all the meetings and discussions and collaborations, we'd become friends. True friends. Then as your friend, I said, I should tell you, I'm accepting the ambassadorship. Voss grinned. Excellent. Welcome to Terra, Ambassador Vexra. Fair warning, we have winter here, and you Draknari hate the cold. I'll adapt. That's what this is all about, isn't it? Adaptation, understanding, growth. It is, Voss agreed. And you know what? I think we're doing pretty well at it. The memorial stood in the center of Unity Plaza, on Terra's surface. It depicted 2 ships, one Draknari, one human, facing each other, not in combat, in greeting. The plaque at the base read, in memory of the war that never was, in celebration of the peace that is, may we always choose wisdom over fear. I stood before it with my family. Yes, family, Kelris and her human husband, Syra and her Keltari partner, even Turthan, who'd married a human scientist he'd met during the joint initiative. We'd all built lives here, on Terra, among humans and dozens of other species who had made this world their second home. Do you ever regret it? Kelris asked quietly. The choice you made? Everything that came after? I looked at the memorial, at my family, at the bustling city around us, where Draknari and humans and Keltari and VRYNN and countless others lived and worked and thrived together. Not once, I said, not for a single moment. A group of school children ran past, laughing, human and Draknari children playing together, not caring about species or history or the war that almost was. That was the future. That was what we'd chosen. Admiral Voss, now President Voss of Terra, approached with her security detail. Even after all these years, even after she transitioned from military to civilian leadership, We still met regularly. Ambassador, she said formally. Then, dropping the formality, Vexra? Kara, I replied. We'd earned a right to use given names. Big day tomorrow, she said. The Galactic Federation charter signing. Never thought I'd see it. Neither did I. A true federation. Equal representation. Mutual defense. Shared resources. It's everything we hoped for. It's everything you made possible. Voss corrected. If you hadn't sent that message 5 years ago, none of this exists. We'd probably still be fighting. Killing each other. Destroying worlds. We both made choices. I said, you chose to show mercy. I chose to accept it. Together, we chose peace. Voss looked at the memorial, at the ships facing each other in greeting. You know what the best part is, she said. The young ones don't even understand what this represents. They don't know what it's like to live in fear of another species. They just see neighbors, friends, colleagues. That's the world we built for them. That's the world they deserve, I said. The sun was setting, Terra's sun, warm and golden, bathing the city in beautiful light. So different from Drachner Prime's harsh white star. But I'd grown to love it. This was home now. Not because I left my old home behind, but because I'd found a new one. And in doing so, I discovered something profound. Home isn't a place. It's people, connection, understanding, love. And in this vast, dangerous, beautiful galaxy, we'd somehow managed to create that, not just for one species, but for all of us. Come on, Voss said. Let's get dinner. I know a place that makes excellent Draknari spice root stew, run by a human chef who learned a recipe from a Draknari immigrant. It's fusion cuisine at its finest. I smiled. Lead the way. As we walked through Unity Plaza, surrounded by the bustling life of a truly galactic civilization, I thought about that day 5 years ago. The fear, the darkness, the impossible choice. And I realized it hadn't been impossible at all. It had been simple. Choose life. Choose peace. Choose the future. Everything else followed from that. Unity Station had grown. What started as a single orbital platform was now a sprawling complex, the diplomatic heart of the Galactic Federation. Ships from hundreds of worlds docked here daily. I was old now. By Draknari standards, very old. My scales had faded to pale gray. My movements were slower, but my mind remained sharp, and I still had work to do. The young VRYNN officer stood before my desk, nervous. She'd just completed her first diplomatic mission, mediating a territorial dispute between two minor species. Ambassador Vexra, she said. I'm not sure I handled it correctly. They were so angry, so convinced the other side was wrong. I tried to make them see reason, but they wouldn't listen. I finished for her, because fear is louder than reason, because anger is easier than understanding. Yes, she said, deflating. Exactly. What did you do? I told them the story. Your story, about the Draknari and the humans, how you were on the brink of war, how one choice changed everything. And they listened. They actually listened. They agreed to more talks. They're not friends yet, but they're not shooting at each other anymore. That's something, right? I smiled. That's everything. That's how it starts. Not with grand gestures, but with small choices. With someone deciding that talking is better than fighting. Understanding is better than hate. The young VRYNN looked at me with hope in her eyes. Do you think they'll make it? Reach a real agreement? I don't know, I said honestly. But they have a chance now. That's all we can give each other. Chances. What we do with them is up to us. She nodded, standing straighter. Thank you, Ambassador, for the advice, for the example, for everything you've done. After she left, I sat alone in my office, looking at the stars through the viewport. Kyra Voss was gone now, passed away 2 years ago, peacefully, surrounded by friends and family. I'd spoken at her funeral, told everyone what she'd meant to the galaxy, what she'd meant to me. My crew was scattered. Kelra's commanded her own ship now, exploring the far reaches of known space. Syra led the Federation Tactical Academy. Tur then headed the Advanced Quantum Research Institute. They'd all moved on, built lives, made their own marks on history. But they all started here. With that day 7 years ago now, time moved so quickly. That day when everything could have ended. And instead, everything began. My comm chimed. A message from Drachner Prime, from the new Supreme Commander, Ambassador Vexra. The Imperium has discovered evidence of an emerging threat in the Outer Rim. A hostile species with advanced technology. They're aggressive, expansionist, dangerous. The Drachnari military is preparing a response. But before we proceed, the High Council has requested your assessment. Your advice on how to handle the situation would be greatly appreciated. Please advise at your earliest convenience. I read the message twice. Then I began my reply. Supreme Commander, before you do anything, talk to them. Not because they deserve it, not because they've earned it, but because you might be wrong about them. Because what looks like aggression might be fear. What looks like expansion might be desperation. I'm not saying they're not dangerous. I'm saying find out for certain before you act. Send a diplomatic envoy. Offer dialogue. Give them a chance to explain themselves. If they reject peace, if they choose violence, then respond accordingly. But try peace first. Always try peace first. Because 7 years ago, someone gave me that chance. And it changed everything. Respectfully, Ambassador Vexra, Tholen Drachnari representative to the Galactic Federation. I sent the message. Would they listen? Would they choose a harder path? I didn't know. But I'd given them the same thing Kyra Voss gave me all those years ago. A chance. The rest was up to them. I looked out at the stars again. So many worlds out there. So many species. So many potential friends. So many potential enemies. The galaxy was vast and dangerous and full of uncertainty. But it was also full of hope. And as long as people, whatever species they were, kept choosing to talk before they fought, to understand before they judged, to build bridges instead of walls, well, maybe we'd all be okay. Maybe we'd more than okay. Maybe we'd be exactly what we were meant to be, not isolated worlds, separated by fear and distance, but a true galactic community, united by the simple recognition that we're all more alike than different, that we all want the same things, that we're all worth saving. I closed my eyes, feeling tired but content. I'd lived a good life, made choices I was proud of, built something that would outlast me. That's all anyone can hope for. The stars continued their eternal dance beyond the viewport. And somewhere out there, on a dozen worlds, in 100 ships, young officers were facing their own impossible choices. I hoped they'd choose wisely. I hoped they'd remember the story. I hoped they'd choose peace. Because in the end, that's all that matters. Not power, not territory, not pride, just peace. And the wisdom to choose it when it matters most. From the Galactic Federation Historical Archives, the crisis of 2347, commonly known as the Drachnari Human Near War, represents a pivotal moment in modern galactic history, when Drachnari Scout Vessel CS-447, colloquially known as the Crimson Shadow, encountered the human defensive fleet in the disputed border regions. Conventional military wisdom suggested inevitable conflict. Instead, through a combination of human technological superiority, diplomatic creativity, and the moral courage of Drachnari Captain Vexra Tholen, a peaceful resolution was achieved. This event directly led to the Drachnari Human Alliance, 2347, the Kelthri Accords, 2348, the VRYNN Integration Treaty, 2349, the Galactic Federation Charter, 2352. Captain, later Ambassador. Vexra Tholen's decision to warn Drachnari Central Command of the true capabilities of human forces, against direct orders and at great personal risk, prevented what military analysts estimate would have been the single deadliest conflict in recorded galactic history. Admiral, later President. Kyra Voss's strategy of demonstration deterrence became the foundation for modern galactic diplomatic doctrine. Her philosophy of speak softly and carry advanced quantum weaponry, a play on ancient human diplomatic wisdom, is now taught in every Federation diplomatic academy. The memorial on Terra, depicting Drachnari and human vessels in mutual greeting rather than combat, has become the symbol of the Federation itself. Perhaps most remarkably, the children of that era, those who grew up in the Federation rather than in isolated, suspicious civilizations, report difficulty understanding why war between species was ever considered inevitable. This represents the ultimate success of the peace established in 2347. Not just the absence of war, but the presence of such complete integration that separation seems unthinkable. Ambassador Vexra Lolin passed away in 2365 at the age of 98 standard cycles, surrounded by a family representing 4 different species. His last recorded words were, "We almost threw it all away. Remember that. Remember how close we came to destroying everything. And remember that we chose differently. We can always choose differently. May future generations heed that wisdom." For more such thrilling science fiction stories, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to Starborn Tales.